Yes. So I wanted to talk a little bit. We talked a little bit last week about 10 years on from the crisis, but there's a couple of headlines over this past week that really got me excited. We're back, baby.
Right.
Wall Street salaries on average rose 13% last year to the highest level since 2008.
Oh, man, we have to reevaluate the whole editorial direction of this show.
They've been doing all that Wall Street labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, very productive. And so yearly pay, including bonuses in New York City for Wall Street securities industry, grew to an average of $422,500. And that's including bonuses. But that's your average salary on Wall Street today in New York City.
Seriously.
10 years on from the crisis, 10 years on from what we've talked about as one of the most lopsided recoveries ever, and the fact that workers still haven't seen a wage increase relative to their purchasing power in 30, 40 years now. And so I just want to quote just to let us know that our government has the right idea on this. New York State Comptroller Thomas P. DiNapoli said, 10 years after Lehman Brothers collapse, it is clear that Wall Street does not need to return to the days of excessive risk-taking to enjoy rising profits. So we're going to come
definitely the right lesson there.
So we're going to come back to that in a second, because there's another very interesting article that I was reading in Bloomberg about the tangible net worth on the S&P 500. So basically what the tangible net worth is, just so we understand, is these are the actual assets of companies that you could hold or touch. So these are factories, the land that's owned by them, cash that they have on hand, those kind of productive equipment.
Yeah.
And that's contrasted with the intangible economy, which are things like brand names, like Nike. So the brand of Nike has a certain value to it.
Right.
Of course, with those kind of values, they're sort of tricky to figure out because they don't really exist.
Yeah.
So there's always sort of a...
They're social constructs, man.
They actually literally are social constructs.
Oh, well, I mean,
that's what's actually really fun about market value and brands.
No, I mean,
well,
we'll just wait till we get to some of these numbers, because it's going to get really fun in a second.
Yeah.
So what we've seen is this huge, stock market rebound over this past decade, and because money has been so cheap and because of low interest rates, and corporations have been able to borrow significantly, and they've used a lot of that money for stock buybacks, and then they got this great gift through Trump, which was the tax cuts, which they used for stock buybacks, which they didn't invest into their company or invest in higher wages for their workers. So you see that the stock market's humming because of these basically inflation in stock market prices, and inflation coincidentally in the salaries of people who derived all of their income from Wall Street. So, we're seeing this happen. Meanwhile, since 2014, we've actually have seen a falling off. So we've seen a drop in tangible assets of real corporations on the S&P 500. So that means that the actual value of tangible assets of these corporations has actually fallen over the past few years. Meanwhile, we've seen a significant uptick in the intangible aspects of the economy. So the gap right now between the tangible and the total value, so that's between the tangible value of corporations and the intangible value, is about 1.7 trillion. $750 billion of that comes from goodwill. So that's what we were talking about a second ago. So that's things that, that's your brand, that's your relationship with your customers, and that's the expectation of being able to derive future profits from the extraction.
Future expected earnings.
Well, I mean, it's sort of not even expected earnings. It's like the potential to have future profits. So, if you were to buy Nike, and you want to make your own T-shirt, you would be able to derive more profits hypothetically from it. But what that value is very suspect. So there's a whole problem with the structural level of these companies and the growth that they're claiming right now. And some people say that it's things like technology, but we got to remember that technology has been used as an excuse for many stupid things that happen in the U.S. economy, including the lack of wage growth. So what we're seeing exactly, and what we're seeing more and more is that it's actually mergers and acquisitions that is driving a lot of this intangible growth in the S&P. Meanwhile, we're seeing actually a falling off of the tangible assets of these corporations. The point that I just wanted to make is that these intangible assets can crumble. That these kind of markets that are basically built off of fictitious capital, built off of the expectation of future profits, can be very unstable. And meanwhile, the fact that we saw a huge amount of bailouts to the financial sector of our economy to fix the stock that that they made from speculation in the first place has just gone to bolstering the profits of stocks, to bolstering the profits of CEOs, well, basically leaving the actual productive aspects of the U.S. economy completely untouched. And we're seeing an entire economy that's being very much driven on debt, that's growing and growing, and we're not seeing any productive gains to go with it. And it's something that we definitely need to be much more bolder about going forward, because as the left begins to take power, we need to start making the arguments now to get this financial sector off of our back, because we need to remind them that they want to use our society, they want to use American currency, they want to use American markets, and they want to use the stability that you get from being a U.S. company to make these huge profits. That they need to start answering to the public and stop with this kind of speculative bullshit that wrecked the economy in the first place. So I just want to remind us one more time that our friend Dean Napoli, 10 years after Lehman Brothers collapse,
you keep my name out of your fucking mouth.
it is clear that Wall Street does not need
Smack
to
the
return to
taste
the
out
days
of
of
it.
excessive risk-taking to enjoy rising profits. I'm sorry, they do.
Yeah, I was trying to make an olive branch to you and your little fucking hippie friends. Meanwhile, you insult me. Di Napoli.
Oh God. Anything you'd like to say about MMT people?
No,
You want some smoke?
No, I like MMT people. MMT is definitely an important.
Not what you said off mic.
Yeah.
You guys are trying to get me to fight with the MMT people. Look, I think we should talk about
Trying
this.
to
We should talk about this on another day. But I think the MMT
We're trying to
people.
capitalize on beef, David.
Look,
Yeah. Jesus Christ, David.
Look, there's a socialist.
Say, baby,
there's
put
a
down
socialist
that
view
pipe
of the
and get
world, and
my
there's a view
pipe
that's
up.
very accommodating to capitalism. And I definitely fall more on the socialist view of the world than other people.
Oh shit! Did you hear that? He basically just said that he was going to sleep with your moms. I respect some MMT stuff, but as we were saying earlier, I find the allure. Like, I think MMT has done its job in the public discourse.
Okay, the point with MMT is that the contribution to the U.S. discourse is certainly radical, just given the fact that the United States political discourse is so fucking stupid,
Right.
And it's fixed on the deficit, and any kind of program is fixated on whether or not we can raise enough tax revenue to pay for it. So the contributions are incredibly valid. I think that the problem is actually, the MMT people, I think, continue to do good work. I think more so what I'm finding is the MMT, as it's disseminated across the left movement in general, so not people who aren't necessarily like economists or like centric, are sort of using it as like a kind of silly crutch in arguments to sort of derail any kind of serious talks about what we need to do about corporations, and what we need to do about the extraction of labor. And I think that's
David's
something that we need
got
to take
no
much more
respect.
seriously.
Come at us.
Yeah,
Or come at him, actually. I don't really have much
Yeah.
time to tweet.
Yeah, come at me if you want to talk
come
about
at
this.
Griscom.
I definitely respect Kelton, even though I got a block recently from someone who won't be named today.
Oh,
On
shit.
MMT, which just shows that a lot of these people have been a little bit too thin-skinned when it comes to criticism of this.
I
of
feel
this
like almost
movement.
everybody involved in everything is too thin-skinned.
That's probably true. I'm definitely very
People aren't
thick-skinned.
thin-skinned about the right things, and they're overly thin-skinned about the wrong things, like basic conceptual disagreements that are okay to have
No, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's something we need to be having more on the left.
until
and,
we take over, and then
And on
fuck
the
out.
left, we need to start having a little bit more fissures in like our understanding of economics in general, because there is a little bit too much of a consensus that's
oh
very
shit! Now you're
shaky.
starting. Now you're throwing shade at some other people indirectly. You're like, you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney, says David Griscom.
This segment has just started out pugnacious, and it's just going to end just like there won't even be any discussion of economics on it. It's just going to be just like throwing insults.
It should
at
just
random
be
people.
everybody that Griscom wants beef with. Frankly, that's how every other show grows. We've grown this show so well, being like, relatively speaking, so minimal drama. It's actually kind of mind-blowing.
I'm actually surprised that we haven't gotten in more fights. I mean, we get like sometimes a random person will get really upset at us, but we haven't really gotten into big fights with other people yet.
No, we're like the Obama of the dirtbag left. It's like, Slay, you got vegan utopians who think that there's going to be a gay space communism, and then you have people who are vulgar Marxists. And what we're trying to say is,
They need to hash it out.
these are both obscure tendencies in the onward global march of capitalism. And we need to reach out to the Cardi B audience while also recognizing everybody's contribution. That actually is kind of what we do. We are the
The Cardi B
Kinda
situation
are
is
the
a very
Obama.
serious splinter that we need to be going for. I mean,
dude, of course, Cardi B
for
should be on
Nixon
this.
was huge.
Cardi
man.
B should be on this show.
Every day, I'm always, I'm telling everybody.
Cardi B should be on this show.
Cardi B, come on, TMBS.
Cardi B,
please.
come on TMBS. Cardi
By
B.
the way, we should also point out that Amy Schumer changed her vote at the last minute, despite endorsing Cuomo.
So Amy
She
Schumer
voted
endorsed
Nixon.
Cuomo. She did the most basic lame move imaginable, along with Nicki Minaj.
Is it lame though, or did she cash the check and then go vote with her heart?
If she got a check from Cuomo and then voted with her heart, then Amy Schumer should come on this show, and she's dope. If that did not happen, she made the most basic lame endorsement imaginable, and then got uncomfortable because too many of her more trendy friends were snapping the grams with the I just voted for change. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. Cynthia Giummani Zephyr. And then she was just like, oh, I think I really miscalculated this one. Or, if you wanted to be more charitable, probably what it was like, I've had this interaction with a few people. They're like, hey, Cuomo's $15 minimum wage, marriage equality. And then you shoot them one piece in the Nation about what it just unrelenting, unremittent scumbag he is with all of the fucking austerity and corporatism and corruption probes and all of it. And then they go, oh, my bad. I'm going to vote for Cynthia Nixon. So maybe that happened with her.
But Amy Schumer's switch, if I remember correctly on Twitter, there's a little bit of a subtle dig at a lot of people too. Is what she said is when she switched to Nixon,
Yeah.
she said, this is what happens when you're polite and having a conversation. When you just when you're nice and people came to me and they were polite, and then I changed my mind. Versus all the other people who were just being mean to me, so I was just supporting
up.
Cuomo. Yeah, so that was sort of you took one step forward and two steps back in that situation.
Dude, even at this level, you have to accept some degree of people being assholes. What are you talking about? And also, if you do something that a political endorsement of any kind is gonna get you heat. Mm-hmm. That's such an unbelievable thing
Because
to whine
people are
about.
looking at this fucking People magazine.
Yeah, it's not People magazine. There's actual stakes to this.
Politics.
You
is supposed to
endorse
be
the guy who
conflict.
got into office and cut taxes for rich people and cut school funding. That was some of his signature moves when he got into office.
No, I mean,
Yeah, people got upset. Get the fuck out of here.
yeah, of course they did.
Yeah, because some people actually have life stakes with this shit. Some of this isn't just I wonder what my Uncle Chuck thinks. And that also, I'm sorry, that is always going to be held against Amy Schumer.
Oh yeah, especially if you're going to try to
Related
be political.
to Cuck Schumer. when this was before TMBS even launched, but there was a minute, the first comedy bit that we were able to do on Majority Report, because there were a couple of days after Trump won where clearly it knocked the wind out of us. I think all of us were physically ill. There was nothing to joke about. And somehow there was some things that Schumer said in the first week that were well, at the very least, this guy might be a mercenary. Maybe, right? Which is a compliment coming from me. Of course he isn't. He's a corporatist hack and a punk. But woke Chuck Schumer was a bit for 3 days. And he was like Ngawa Black Power. And that doesn't even work. That's a retired bit. Because Chuck Schumer sucks.
Yeah.
So relentless.